Today's wine journey brought me to uptown Charlotte, North Carolina, home to many great cultural experiences, public works of art, water features, and fun places to enjoy great cuisine. One of those places is the Wooden Vine, a restaurant and wine bar on North Tryon Street, just a couple of blocks north of the square. I had the pleasure to meet owner David Soper, one of the new generation of chefs and restaurateurs graduating from Johnson & Wales University, located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I was delighted to see the charm and warmth of the wood floors, the custom wood pieces, and the comfortable, chic interior, all of which make this a must-see and experience atmosphere. Join me for my few minutes of conversation with David Soper. Well, David, wonderful to meet you.
Very nice meeting you, Ruth.
I've been by here several times, looked in. What a beautiful, beautiful place. And I definitely wanted to hear your story. So tell me a little bit about your journey. I know you grew up in a vineyard, but what happened after that?
Well, I kind of just started to live out the rest of my childhood, to be honest with you. But for me, growing up on a vineyard, it was just a family venture. It was more of a hobby for a while. For my grandmother, they produced a lot, so they were able to sell the juice off to a larger winery in Virginia. Some vintages were good and some vintages were not so good, but either way, it was the experience that mattered for me. And then after that, of course, I went to high school, and in high school is really where I found my love for cooking, actually. And so I got the idea that I wanted to be a chef, and then I wanted to pursue that. And so through that, with that passion, I took to Johnson & Wales here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and went in there initially wanting to be a chef, and started to find out how much wine is involved in what we do in the industry and how important it is. And so I was like, I decided that I was going to start to focus on that more, because I knew also that I was going to be pursuing a second degree in food service management, so more front of the house approach. And then it really became serious that I needed to really start focusing in on wine, because the statistics proved that we go through millions and millions of gallons a year, and more and more every single year of wine, and that the buyer is interested in talking to somebody that's knowledgeable about it.
I saw that you had done some travels abroad.
Yes, I had, and that was a part of my education. I studied abroad while attending Johnson & Wales for credit for a summer in Germany mostly, but part of the curriculum was traveling elsewhere, so France, Italy, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Belgium, Austria, and so that really is what sparked everything. And so from then on, I was obsessed. And so I came back and was like, all right, well, I have this German wine certification now after spending this summer almost exclusively studying just wine. And of course, along the way, some food too. But I came back wanting to pursue my sommelier certification and to sort of not necessarily change my career choice, but gear it towards a more specific direction, and that was becoming a sommelier.
Wonderful. Well, tell me about the Wooden Vine. How did you end up here?
Well, I was the sommelier at the Charlotte City Club, which is right down the street at the 121 West Trade building at the top there, the top 2 floors. And sort of worked through there during college, worked there for a total of 5 years. I'd been here before because this existed prior to me owning it and my family owning it, and heard that it was for sale. And so I certainly felt that I would be remiss in my career if I didn't at least investigate an ownership opportunity of a wine bar. Anyway, so we gathered up the money and said, all right, now what else do we need? We started formulating lists and really started to get the ball rolling on the process. Certainly hit the ground running, and had a lot of work to do because I wanted to change what from the Wooden Vine as it existed prior to to what it exists now, and I knew that I wanted to change the concept. And so I wanted not the focus not only to be on wine. I did want us to be known as a wine bar, and we still are, but I also wanted to serve great food. And so I knew in order to do that I needed to do some renovations in my kitchen and put a hood system in, hired a great staff, which is also Johnson & Wales trained, and we all worked together as a family.
Wonderful. Well, tell me, what is your mission here? What is your customer profile? Who do you want to make sure knows that you're here?
Well, I think very much like what you're trying to do. I'm trying to change a little bit of the wine world, and because the wine world right now is very, at least in the United States, can be very one-dimensional, and palates can be very one-dimensional. And so my goal is to change that and expose more palates to a variety of different wines. And so in order to do that, I need to get away from, for instance, the oaky buttery Chardonnays. I need to get away from the hedonistic reds, and to focus in on more some more food-friendly wines, and thusly more wine-friendly food. And so that's our motto: wine-friendly food and food-friendly wine.
And how do you know when a food and wine pairing works?
And so, you have a chicken dish, for instance, chicken piccata, for instance. You have a lemon sauce. It's got high acidity, but it's also got this buttery kind of a feel to it. And so that acidity kind of cuts away at that butter, so at the same time it contrasts it, but it complements it at the same time. So with the wine, we want to focus in on a wine that might have citrus qualities and definitely high acidity, because otherwise the food is going to actually make the wine taste flabby, or vice versa.
Fabulous. Do you have a particular wine style yourself that you like? Is there a particular, do you like heavy tannin, no tannin? Do you like high acid or no acid?
I'll tell you what I like. I like balance. I like my wine to be balanced. For the most part, it's really just about balance, and I appreciate a wine for what it has. So if it does have a high amount of tannin, then I can appreciate it for that, as long as it's balanced by fruit character, for instance, or acidity. I do tend to really enjoy more acidity in my wine. So I do like, I like my acidic whites, for instance. I love German Riesling.
I was going to ask, since you spent so much time in Germany, if that's a heavy influence.
It is, and part of my goal is to let people realize that the Germans don't drink sweet Riesling, and that's fine that they do produce sweet Riesling, because there's a time and a place for everything, but that not all Rieslings are sweet, for instance, which is a common misconception in the world of wine.
And when you're choosing the wines for your list, how are you influenced? I mean, what are you trying to bring in? What regions are you focused on?
Well, I try to keep up with trends, but at the same time create my own. And so when I create my list, my first goal is to have balance on my wine list. But my second goal is to also be trendy. So I do have some of the wines that are more trendy, and then there are other items that are just a little more obscure, and that are for the adventurous wine drinker. That way I like to provide something for everybody. And so definitely keeping up with trends, creating my own, and balance are all the keys to a good wine list.
So what are you doing here that people need to know about?
Right, I do wine tasting every Tuesday. We call it Tuesday Tastings. And it's a $5 wine tasting, and it can either be themed, or it can be kind of all over the place. Maybe I just have some wine that's open that I want to just bring out to the public. But either way, it's only $5 for 5 wines. They can be more value-based, or they can be some higher-end wines. But I always charge $5, because it's just 1 ounce pours of each, and I just want to expose more palates, number one. And number two, give people the chance to purchase these wines after they taste them for a really, really, really good price.
That sounds really great. David, what would you advise a beginning wine drinker to do as they're trying to educate their palate and be more adventurous? What advice would you give them to do that?
Well, first I would like to say that drink more wine. That really
That
is the
does
basis. That really is the basis. And try to find time to do this in a fun way. Find a partner. Find a friend who you really can talk about wine and enjoy wine together, and not just do it on a social level. Do it on an educational level. For me, anyway, and I think for a lot of other people, the more you learn about wine, the easier it is to understand it on a basic level, so that when you finally do start tasting more wines and drinking more wines, you know what's in front of you, and you can find beauty in that because you know about it already. And you can recognize a wine for its individual qualities that you might not have otherwise recognized. Your own blind tasting. So your partner, send them into the store. Tell them to pick out 4 different wines at whatever price point, brown bag them and bring them back to the house, and just do a little tasting and write down what you think and what you think the varietal is, and then do the same thing for him or her next time. That's kind of how I did my blind tasting for my sommelier certification. And then not only that, of course, I was already in the industry, so my distributors come in and I'd be like, don't tell me what the wines are. And that was fun for me because it also helped me to learn a great deal about wine that I wouldn't have otherwise known either.
Wonderful. Well, this has been very enjoyable. Thank you so much. Nice meeting you.
Thank you very much, Ruth.
And I can't wait to enjoy some of these wine and dinner combinations.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll be hosting wine dinners, and definitely join our newsletter. You can go to our website, TheWoodenVine.mpeg, join our newsletter, and I put great deals on wine on there on my monthly newsletter, which include my own tasting notes, news about wine dinners, wine tastings, and just overall how we're doing.
Okay, and again, your website is?
TheWoodenVine.com. You got to put the "the" in there.
All right. Thank you so much.